Well, after a year of COVID stimulus, those interested in politics have their eyes firmly set on a looming federal budget, which is looking to be quite tough, and also speculation that Prime Minister Scott Morrison is going to call an election before the end of the year. We're now joined by the President of the Real Estate Institute of Australia, Adrian Kelly, to talk about how Tassie's faring in the context of the nation and also what expectations we have ahead of the budget. Hello to you, Adrian.
Hi, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
Oh, our absolute pleasure. Now, give me a little bit of an idea. From all indicators, Tassie seems to be doing really well in the real estate world. How are we tracking compared to the rest of the nation?
Well, it's certainly very different to what we were expecting this time last year, and there was plenty of forecasting of 10, 20, 30% value reductions in terms of property prices, and that just hasn't happened. In fact, it's gone the other way. It's almost a bit of a Y2K moment for us here in Tasmania, and I suppose largely that's due to the fact that we managed, by and large, to keep the pandemic under control, which meant that we could continue to trade. So what we're seeing is now that COVID has proven that we can work from home and we didn't break the NBN, that people want to move here. They were wanting to move here to live a healthy, happy, sustainable life, with Tasmania still being reasonably affordable, and that's just been exacerbated post-COVID. So it'll be interesting to see how 2021 plays out.
It will be indeed. It's going to be a big year politically. I know that the REIA has made a submission to the federal government ahead of the budget. Give us a bit of an insight into what's that. I understand you've had an area of concern around property tax.
Look, every year the federal government asks us for submissions, and it's available on our website for anyone who wants to read the document. Property tax is a big one, obviously, and here in Tasmania, stamp duty and land tax accounts for about a third of the total tax budget for the Tasmanian government. So property is certainly well and truly taxed, that's for sure. So we'll keep banging the drum about why property is so taxed, because it doesn't do anything for property values and it doesn't do anything for first home buyers, that's for sure.
And stamp duty, always a concern for people buying homes. What do you want to see happen with that?
Well, there needs to be a better way of managing the tax budget, and every state across the country has stamp duty in some form, with the exception of the ACT. They're actually moving to a broad-based tax system, so it'll be interesting to watch that example as a bit of a litmus test. But the days of stamp duty really need to be gone.
And you've also suggested a tax deduction for first home buyers. How would that actually work?
Well, first home buyers have always found it difficult to get into the market, and probably their biggest difficulty is saving for a deposit, so this may not help that. But what has worked well in other countries, and it's never been done in Australia, is for first home buyers to be able to claim the interest that they've paid in terms of their mortgage repayments. And we're suggesting that's capped something like $4,000 or $5,000. But that would certainly put them on a level playing field with rental property investors, for example, who can claim some of the costs associated with holding a property.
And you've also recommended an expansion of the first home loan deposit scheme.
Yeah, well, that particular scheme was a massive success, and the first 10,000 places were soaked up pretty quickly last year, and the government's released another 10,000. The problem is the second 10,000 hasn't been used completely. That's because only about 10% of first home buyers actually choose to build a new home, and at the moment the scheme only applies to new builds, if that makes sense. So we're asking the federal government now to expand that scheme, which I say has been a big success across existing homes as well, and that would be particularly popular here in Tasmania, where the rate of first home ownership for first home buyers is pretty much amongst the established property market.
Yeah, no, it's certainly going well. And just finally, one for the ages, negative gearing.
Look, negative gearing, and that became a bit of a slogan, didn't it, during the last federal election? It'll be interesting to see what the various political parties roll out this time around. If our view is that negative gearing is going to be looked at, or an alternative, then it should be looked at in terms of the total taxation budget. Not forgetting that negative gearing also applies to other asset classes like shares and that sort of thing. So if we're going to make a change for the property market, then we need to look at a bit more of a holistic approach, I suppose, to put it mildly.
Okay, well, we'll wait and see if your submissions made it to the powers that be.
We'll see how we go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today, Adrian. Adrian
Thanks,
Kelly
Rachel.
there.
Good to be with you.